Yes, I'm a gerontology student. I mean, I graduated first. Okay, let's go a little bit back. I'm chemical engineer by education, from Russia. Immigrated to United States. Then I was homeschooling my children for whatever 12 years. I don't know, 15 years. I don't remember. Then I went back to PCC to study gerontology, first for my own sake, to learn how people age in this country. Mm-hmm. And then I got really deeply involved. And now I'm thinking about sharing what I learned and helping other people age. So I graduated this summer with 2 certificates from PCC, Advocacy and Activity Professional. I had all the credits for dementia, never mind. So anyways, and I developed with guidance of Roger, a cognitive activity program, which I am testing in different settings, hoping to help people age well.
I champion you. Congratulations on your graduation. Wow. 15 years of homeschooling by a chemical engineer. I have homeschooled several years, and I was a classroom teacher, 4th grade on down. So I'm applauding that. And now you're going to help me to age even better. Oh, and everyone else. And I get to meet you, and Bill gets to meet you here. Bill. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is great. Do you know what? I'm going to have Bill tell you more about himself, and I'm going to listen in because I need to know too. I know he's been in pictures because I've learned LinkedIn, and I've kind of taken LinkedIn and wrangled it down to where a person who doesn't have a background in social media, but does have a background with people. At one point, my best friends were 96. It just seemed like I was with a lot of different people in that era of caregiving and assisting that were 96. But Bill, tell Natalia a little bit more about you.
Well, first I want to answer your first question before my voice went nuclear or something like that. So I go by any variation on William, Bill, Willie, whatever, except I like to tell a story that a friend going back to elementary school all the way through college, my neighborhood, and she lives in Berkeley now, and I'll see her and she said, "Can I still call you Billy?" You can. It helped us with my first question.
Oh, yeah. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So to answer your more important question, so what Natalia especially doesn't know, I was my mother's caregiver. It was a 10-year journey. She passed away 10 years ago from Alzheimer's at age 83. And what I like to say often is if you had told me what was going to transpire from about the mid-2000s to the last few years, what was going to happen with my mom on my journey with her, I'd say, you're crazy. You couldn't make up that scenario. It was just unfathomable because part of the story is, Natalia, Roger knows, I think Christine knows, my mom lost her home in Katrina in Biloxi, Mississippi. Mm-hmm. And she was showing signs before that. But that day, everything changed because not only all the ramifications recovering and supporting her, my stepfather, but the trauma of seeing her home gone just exacerbated, accelerated whatever was coming on with her. We knew later that it was Alzheimer's. So what I like to say, a long story short, that I turned my personal loss, my pain into my passion and my encore career. Because I used to work for the state of Oregon in a completely unrelated job with ODOT, Department of Transportation. So you can kind of get the picture there. And I thought when I was approaching retirement that I was just going to do more volunteer work, support groups, and all fundraising and advocacy at the Capitol. But then I came across this concept of a caregiving support consultant. I provide advice, support, resources to family caregivers, help them put together the care team, the care plan, collaborate with my A team of advisors and professionals. And I'm also a certified senior advisor and now a trained elder mediator. So I love what I'm doing.
Oh my goodness.
Very
My hubby producer, D. Scott Smith, motivational listener who's always wanting to just stay in the background during this hour and is always so glad that he got to listen in at the end. He puts comments up on the screen. I'm going to start with Michael Holt. He is also in the Portland area. Michael and Scott got together just a number of weeks ago while I was visiting my mom in the Portland area. So we drove up together and I was just a little bit jealous. And Michael goes, I love it. Still learning and growing so that you can serve others. Oh, and then he thanks me for, isn't that amazing? So many different people call this a panel. And I tend to call it a picnic table because I don't practice ahead of time and make sure. I just ask each of you to share, ways that people can get a hold of you. And that'll happen at the end. Natalia is new to this. So is Michelle. She just came in. I am so happy to see you. She said, I might be a few minutes late. And I'm like, late is great. Yay. Because that means that you were interested enough. You're like, wait a minute, I want to get in on this too. And I've got some reasons. Another person who's put in a message this morning to champion you and cheer you on is, I believe, from outside of Oregon. We're all in Oregon. Actually, Michelle may not be over the border back home yet. She's saying, yes, I'm going to get her talking in just a moment because her situation is also pretty special. Steve Berger, yes. He's greeting us from Naples, Florida, and he is looking forward to hearing what you are all going to be discussing because some of you already know each other. Michelle, I'm going to go right to you just to make sure your sound is working because you have halted everything to come. So welcome. I'm so glad to meet you, Michelle, after all this time of just looking at your picture on the screen.
Great to see you again, Michelle.
Yay. How's your sound? Oh, we can't hear you, but apparently you can hear us. Let's see. Okay, she muted and she's going to give it a try. You can hop in anytime, Michelle, right in the middle and to see if it's going to work for you to talk. Yep, we're still not hearing you. And also Jesse Maruka, he has actually been on as well as Steve. And Jesse is in Florida as well. So we're pulling people in on our Oregonian time. By the way, when I was trying to text us Oregonians to Roger, it was just, waving him down going, I'm going to see you in an hour. My autocorrect goes to oregano. So that's what it thinks I'm going, do I even ask my husband pick up oregano from, so I don't know where
that's pronunciation.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're original Oregonians, oreganos and all. Ooh, try again, Michelle. See if we can hear you. Nope. It's still quiet, but hey, we've been playing with tech this morning with Bill. Roger, this is probably your third time in Aspects of Aging. And I'm just going to let you talk to me because you and I should have met face to face by now, like in a grocery store or something. Go right ahead.
We never have met at that grocery store or farmer's market. I think that's where we'll probably meet. When you said the formal gathering, it's more like a picnic. It's more like a potluck We all bring food for thought, so run with that one. And and what I really like is when you gather people like this, we don't know what we're going to talk about. And I've already marked next week just because I know we'll run out of not time, we'll run out of ideas at the end of next week, maybe. But what I want to do is to listen and also contribute something I think all of you have, and that is you've got something like Natalia will tell you about. And it's not the end of cognitive issues, but it's a tool that can be used. And if we have enough tools that people are attracted to, that's going to make a difference because it tips the balance. Part of it is just getting someone away from things they think of as negative, and you don't do it by distracting them. The new concept is you attract them to something that they loved once in their life. It's called the lived experience. And so maybe next week I'll ask for some solid time to talk about a presentation I did at Portland State just before the pandemic hit on precision applied reminiscence therapy, PART. And what it's based on is precision medicine and also OHS used precision immunotherapy. Target that one person's cancer, target that one person's medical problem precisionally at the beginning. And so if we know someone loves Lego as a kid or watch their kids build Lego, what do? You don't have them do something they've never done before. You do something that they once did. And even if they're observing it, can't physically do it, the mirror neurons pop in and they are almost as good as actually doing what they used to do. So it's a time travel concept.
I saw evidence of that. A gentleman who does videography posted something out, and it's probably been reposted everywhere. So he was watching a younger lady. They did have some prompts at the bottom of the screen to help you know what was going on. A younger lady and another woman are approaching a gentleman who's seated. He has a cane next to him. She comes around and does what I've seen Teepa Snow do so many times, make sure that she approaches at the right level and, touching just so to let this person know I'm approaching you, even though they have sight, but so as not to startle them. This gentleman was an artist all his years. He did art with other people, taught other people. She drew his attention after he said, "Do I know you?" She said, "I'm a friend, and I'm a happy part of your life," or something like that. Drew his attention to the paintbrush. Maybe 4 or 5 strokes later, he turned and said, "You're my little girl. Oh my, you're so beautiful." And she bursts out very gently, "Daddy, today's the day." He goes, "You're so beautiful." And he kisses her hand over and over. She said, "The people are here. Today is the day." She's wearing her white dress, her veil. And everyone's being so careful not to make loud noises and react as he and she continue to do the aisle walk. And right now, I just touched my arm, and I cried. I watched it several times, but that was a part of his past, something they did together. That's specifically why she had the paints set up, so that he could start doing what he had done before. And that was, and he found himself again, and he discovered her, and he had the joy of the moment, and everyone else did too. And I kept watching it. Natalia, you said something earlier on that helped me to realize that although a human being who was born in any politically lined or geographic spot or climate, was born or raised or continued their maturation in any sort of culture. You wanted to discover the culture of US aging. And yes, it is different as a culture, as a group, reactions, etc. Can you talk more about that?
Yes, and one of the challenges which I really welcome is when I work with people with dementia, they have their culture in, like, we relate to their experiences in the past, music, movies, and everything. For me, it's all new, right? So when I go and volunteer in day services program, I've learned a lot, listening to those songs and watching movies. For some people, it's reminiscence. For me, it's a lot of material. It's a lot of learning going on there, just sitting there, because I have no clue who whatever brothers are, what songs they're singing. So it's really exciting, but it's also absolutely necessary, and it cannot be done in a classroom environment, right? Because in classroom we don't learn this kind of things, and it's very absolutely most important for working with people with dementia and with all other people too, because you want to connect with their culture and their past too. So that's one of the challenges there is, because I can, jump in very happy with my Lego bricks, but to make that connection, I need to have some shared cultural background. So, yeah.
Oh my. Okay, so Lego.
Well, Lego, yes.
Yes. Are you familiar with Patty Sharon?
Yes, that's
Good.
a person. That's a person who told you about me, and I met her.
Oh, that was
Yes, and I met her at Lego convention this year in Portland. I mean, we were communicating virtually for quite some time after she wrote her book. We were communicating, but we met in person and had an absolutely great time. And we are going to meet next year, of course. So yes, she's very darling, and she's a very helpful person and very passionate about helping people. Yeah.
When I'm going to head for a large gathering of anything, Portland seems to be the spot where everyone knows we'll get a lot of people involved if we have this in Portland. Oh my goodness, I'm going to say the wrong one, but anyway, there was an awards gathering in Portland that brought me up there, and it was Ageless Awards for Age Plus.
Mhm.
And so I got to see just amazing people in person talking about why they were being honored. They had to be 75 or better in order to be honored. And then I went back for the scam jam and how not to be scammed and exploited, particularly financial or your personal information. And it brought in the Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum, and it brought in, a guy from the TV station, and a guy came down from Washington who's retired with AARP, but he had a lot of information to let people know, it's like you don't have to know everything about how they can scam you. You need to know how you set your feet and go, this is a potential scam, and it's much better that I push aside, that I have a script and I push aside and whatever is coming towards me on my screen or at my door, in my mail or on my phone, how I push that aside, but still retain who I am, because you've been taught to be polite and to respond and, to be helpful. So that was really great. But Portland, a lot of things happened. Portland, Bill, you mentioned that Teepa Snow was in person in Portland.
Yeah.
Was that how recently?
I believe it was around June 21st, right around the longest day.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken. I wasn't able to make it this
Oh.
time, but I've seen her a couple times in recent years. Absolutely.
Oh my
Yeah, a
goodness.
couple of my people in my support group went. And they loved it. Even one who had just lost his spouse, he had already reserved for it, and he says, "I'm going anyway because I can always learn more and come back and share with the group," which is the way they are. I mean, that's how my experience with a support group. That's why it's so important. I get a little off topic here. Sorry, because people were so supportive, even though they had already lost their loved ones. And I did that for a little while after my mom passed away. And I became the facilitator. I'm still leading the same group 18 years later. But it's that kind of community. And I mean, I'm not saying that we're perfect. We know about the healthcare industry has a lot of room for improvement, shall we say, and coordination and compassion. But we have a very healthy, healthcare community with all the major systems and a research medical school, Oregon Health Sciences University, with a wonderful the Layton Center for Aging. So, and then a very vibrant Alzheimer's Association. All those issues are there. You mentioned the guy from AARP was from Washington or from Oregon? Because I know about Jerry Cohen.
Yes, I've met Jerry Cohen. Thank goodness Vicky Schmal started Gero Conference 46 years ago. And I ended up next to her for the breakfast, and I believe I met Jerry there, and I've seen him on screen a few times for AARP Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, I want to say his last name, Shadle. Somewhere in this mess on my desk that you are not allowed to see is his name. But yeah, he was AARP Washington, and he was brought in for talking, as well as an assistant. She said she gave me a baby shower, so we're pretty close. Ellen Rosenblum's assistant is also Ellen Clem. She also spoke. So, people who have, I don't know, clout, they've got, a gravity well, we're, jumping in. And one of the speakers just happened by, and I tend to be talkative and, engage people. And he goes, "Man, I am so thrilled to see this many people." It was being held at OMSI, Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. So we walked past, the sound of children and displays, and I had to go through the solar system to get to that. But you've probably all been there, and maybe even as kids when it was smaller and near the zoo. That's right. It was
now
just
it's on the waterfront. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another great annual conference, I know Roger's aware of it, I don't know about Italia, is the McGinty Conference, which has been going on for many years, which is an Alzheimer's conference. It's usually in the fall, I believe November. It's an all-day conference of seminars and talks, updates on all the research, and breakout rooms with great speakers. And it's a great opportunity to talk to other caregivers, network, talk to the vendors. Great thing and it's free for Oregon caregivers. This is all sponsored by the legislature through, I believe, Oregon Care Partners, right?
Right.
Yeah. So
has it been going on for a few years or just more recent?
Yeah.
Many years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. I was a hired caregiver last decade.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so much that we don't know about that's within a short drive or walking distance, or, you're just going, you're kidding. That's what we have something in common. That's part of why I just wanted to have an Oregonian gathering so that other Oregonians can go, wait a minute, this is possible. I don't have to become an expert or spend a lot of money and go to a conference that's somewhere else. I can go for free to the McGinty conference. Okay, I need to look that one up.
I like
That
to
is
use the
fantastic.
analogy of, because back in the mid 2000s, if you think what was something like locally retirement connection guide, or how much was on the internet, almost nothing. It was basically the old phrase, I think we're all old enough, let your fingers do the walking through the yellow pages, right? I mean, the younger people don't know that one. It's like they don't know how to do a rotary phone. but that's what it was.
Why do we say
and then you didn't
dial?
know what you were going to get, right?
And
Yeah.
Bill raising the McGinty brought back a flood of memories. And Christine, my involvement was a couple of keynotes, and I met some of the scientists who speak plain English when they get into the McGinty, because it's something that is more of an engagement rather than an audience only listening. And I'm going to predict that if you go, what you'll be able to do is get a notepad, take Scott with you, and you'll be able to spot a speaker. Go to them afterwards and see if they might want to be a guest on, because you've got something that's based in Oregon. And Oregon has always been thought of when you go back east and you do something and they hear you're from Oregon, they've heard about the innovation, the first assisted living community in Portland, all these different things in Portland that start. So that's a rich group of Oregonians and people connected with Oregon.
Is McGinty coming up?
It's in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wonderful. Okay, writing that down. There's something else that's in Oregon. And Natalia, you said something about when you go into the adult day services. Did I hear you correctly?
Yes. I volunteer there weekly just to help, obviously, but it's much more beneficial for me to learn how to do things, because I don't know if you know Nancy Hackler from Cedar Sinai. This is a top-notch, whatever you can dream of, this is your place.
That's where my mom was.
She is ahead of everything. When I go for presentation, by conferences, Nancy is ahead of that. She's doing it on the ground. And I told her once, Nancy, if I ever get Alzheimer, I want to be here, period. I want to be in this place. So I go there weekly, I help them, by mostly learn, see how she does it in her program and learn cultural things. And she is a person, just wow. Yes.
And this is Sinai.
Cedar Sinai Adult Day Services.
Yeah, Nancy Heckler. That was one of my mom's favorite people. My mom was started over in the assisted living, Schnitzer Manor. She was there less than a year, and then she was in the old Robeson before they renovated it, 4 years in their secure memory care. And what I like to say is that it looked like the old nursing homes, because it used to be that, skilled nursing, etc. But the care was wonderful. That was the most important thing. In fact, the head nurse, I don't know if you ever met Ronnie Schechter, Natalia, but she was at Cedar Sinai over 30 years and just retired not that long ago. So
yeah, they have a lot of people who work long years, like 20, 30, like really, right. They keep their people.
Right. And when you think about how so many care communities and agencies are struggling for staff, high turnover, and if you hire well and you train well and you promote and you recognize, you will see that. They'll be there 5, 10, 20, 30 years. It's unheard of nowadays, right?
Yes. I worked under the department that sent people to private homes. And this was Albany, it's Mennonite Village. And they started with, one building saying we need to take care of the people who have no one to take care of them. We need to do well for our own community within Mennonite. Well, they have multi-levels now, and they actually list, happy anniversary to so-and-so, 15 years, 25 years, 30 years. So another situation that is staying true as they can to the original premise of let's take care of them and let's take care of our workers too. I loved working for them. They would send me anywhere in 2 counties. But I could also, all of us in that department could be there for someone, even if it was 1 hour once. So it was very nice for those who were living more independently in that community. Also, just south of Roger and I in Corvallis, the Grace Center is adult day services, and they were awarded #1 out of 6,400 across the US. And I cannot, I'm just like, I'm actually going to be in Corvallis today, and I'm going to drop by again to see Renee Knight. And it's like, what has been done right? Obviously, a lot of places are doing fabulous, but #1, I just got their letter in the mail a few months ago because I went to their aging summit. I wanted to learn more. I wanted resources for both caregiving people and family caregiving people and my best friends, the people in their 70s through hundreds that it's like, is there something for me and that's different? My background is this way. Is there a grouping? Is there a way that I can continue my enhanced living? I'm thrilled that there are resources, and this is my way of making sure people know them more. We're only at the halfway mark. I'm going to go ahead and get ahead of the train just a little bit so we can just relax and share some more information and more stories. And like you said, you turned your pain into passion. That has happened over and over again. I think maybe some of the best stuff happens when someone goes, I have got to make sure that someone else doesn't have to muddle through and have difficulty with the finances or the equipment that makes my loved one more comfortable or whatever it is. I think some of the best stuff comes out of the struggle rather than, oh, here's a product, I'll sell this. If you've been through it yourself, whatever it is, the condition or the emotional strain, some trauma or something, pain is a motivator. You end up putting things together. So I always show this to the camera. You can hardly read it, but convergence is my little answer for my spot of bringing multi-ages together, different professional interests together in Independence this fall, October 6, 7, 8, 9. Roger said that he would be a speaker. There's going to be collaborations that are curated by other speakers, but in a more conversation, more picnic table like opportunity. There's a lot of I don't know, fun stuff to do in town, small town stuff to do. And so I'm leaving a lot of open space very intentionally. I'm scheduling open space so that people will go, you know what, let's get together over here because they're going to be talking on the topic of pain. I'm inviting the Oregon Pain Science Alliance president and entourage to come and just have a discussion in the afternoons. Roger's going to be a speaker in the morning. If that's changed, Roger, don't tell me now because I don't have my box of Kleenex. But you're telling me about McGinty. I mentioned the Ageless Awards, which is just inspiring to hear what people are doing as they continue to age. And sometimes, a lot of times, I mean, aging is just continuous living. So whatever it is that they've contributed to society also benefits people who find themselves continuing to live. As many have said, I'm an age I never imagined. I never imagined that. And I feel lucky that I was hired as a caregiver in almost 100 different homes last decade, because I got to see like my future, my own aging future, and realize that it's only scary if you're completely unprepared. And it gets less scary as you go, wait a minute, there's options, even for things that seem like a shutdown, like you've gotten this diagnosis and that must just be it. It's like, no, even there's joy, there's sharing, there's meaningfulness. I don't know. I could just go on and on. I'm excited about aging. So I call myself hashtag aging enthusiast,
Well,
because I'm getting prepared for it.
Look at just us. Probably there's people younger than us who would be saying, well, aren't you just going around and in an RV and gardening and taking care of the grandkids? That's the questions I got when I was leaving state employment. I said, no, I'm starting a business. Well, what do you need that for? You've got a pension fund. I'm not going to just sit around watching baseball. I found something that's going to keep me active mentally, physically, socially. And everyone says, I can't believe you're the age you are. You have your energy, enthusiasm. Good. Thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
That, yeah. You know, people, oh, you don't look that old, which is a really crazy statement to me now. You don't look that old, or you don't sound it, you don't seem, I don't know, I'm not sensing a particular age. And I'm like, I just am. Everyone just looks the way that they look. And I don't know. I love that people are such a huge bouquet of different, you know, it's like your outward appearance. I see people often, because I'm near a university that serves people who don't hear or have diminished hearing at all ages, and also people who have both sight and hearing, that they navigate life differently. I see red tip canes. I see people spelling into hands pretty often now, especially now that we have a trolley that goes back and forth between Monmouth, Western Oregon University, and Independence. And so lots of writers, and I'm just going, they don't care how old I look or how young I look. They don't care. You know, it's like I was pulled over. They're like, you need to talk to them, not just us. And I'm like, okay, are you staying at the hotel? You know, spell, and responses and spelling back. And, you know, no, we're part of the school over, you know, and I'm just going, they don't care what age I look.
There's one thing that keeps coming to mind while you're talking, and it's on the most serious side. To have resources available, because, as I said, I'm coming from another culture, and we very often don't think here about some gate people from other cultures put in front of them about aging, because they still mentally are in their own mindset from their culture, where aging could be very different, maybe not so vibrant, maybe so not so open to experiences. And I think what you do and what we're talking about, just to put things out there for people to see and make their decision, from people from other cultures, because I was very shortly taking care of my mom, who had dementia. Then she went back to Russia because I just couldn't do it here because, you know, language and everything. And I'm telling you, it was before my gerontology days. I was like dead. I have no clue. I had no clue what to do, how to approach it. And there is there is a lot of people like I was at that time. So I see one of the parts of any gerontology or any old age education advocacy is just to put things out there, because the immigration, I mean, the diversity of population is it's changing, and we need to face it. And what I don't like often when we, this they take care of their own statement, I really don't like it, because very often we hide behind it. We say, "Oh, don't worry about them. They take care of their take care of their own." That's what I mean. Good for them, but maybe we need to try to help them, because you cannot do things like that alone. And in order to open our world to them, if you understand what.
Oh, you remind me of Isabel Tom, and I believe she said, I'm sorry if I'm misquoting, I believe she said that she had one or both parents in a place and their background was different. And right at this moment, I cannot recall, but definitely Asian. And their background was different. So to be in a place that did not have the familiarity of the culture that they lived almost all of their life, she said nothing wrong with the program, the building, the people, but it wasn't addressing them from their culture. And honestly, I didn't know what my culture was until I landed in an area that was not touristy in Mexico at one point, and especially when I went to Romania. And I said, how do you know that we're Americans if we don't say anything? I feel like we blend in. And it's like, the way
No.
that you walk, the fact that you're wearing a man's belt in your belt loops. Look around. No women are wearing men's belts. We don't have belts like that for women. Little
even
things that I'm like, what?
Yeah, even in Canada, I was just in Victoria, BC. You can tell the Americans, believe me. Oh yeah, way they dress, way they act, way they how loud.
Loud.
My
We're told
wife
we
said
were
blended in.
swinging our arms and talking loudly, and our mouths were really big. And I started to notice, and it was this demure kind of, this, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I really am a sore thumb sticking out.
My wife felt as though people kept on asking us for directions. I guess we look like we fit in. Well, it's all the Pacific Northwest, right? Yeah, no, we stick out.
Oh my goodness. Roger, I don't remember. How did you end up in this situation? We know that Bill was ODOT, and then his mom, and that figuring it out and finding things that changed the way that he thought he was going to be when he was retired. But Roger, have you been pursuing this since college? I honestly don't remember.
Okay, shall we have a series of serendipitous, I'll call it fortunate changes. I started out with a career in law, 26 years as a trial attorney. I thought I had the world by the tail. When I famously burned out and couldn't function as a lawyer, I didn't know what to do. So I dumped everything and looked for, and the short version is I got a job in Salem, Oregon at an assisted living, 44 people. I was the van driver 2 days a week. I got to go to Fred Meyer. I got to go to the doctor. I got to be with nanas. So if you say, where does it come from? That crash in my career was coupled with the death of my Nana, my only grandparent in her 90s. And she and I just sizzled. She never was in something like assisted living or nursing homes. And at one point she said, now, if I'm in the hospital, watch my hand, because if I snap my fingers and say, check, please, I'm checking out. She just had a sense of humor that was great. But what I found was that that my passion was there for a few days, but I didn't know it until on Friday. Michelle calls me in. I hand her the keys as usual. She said, do you want to be the activity director? And I was still standing up, just kind of checking out. And I said, don't we have an activity director? She said, well, she just walked out. I called corporate. You're already an employee. I said, I'm not trained. Do I get trained? And she said, I covered that. Be here at 8 on Monday. Be trained by corporate trainers. You start at 9 o'clock. It's on the calendar. I said, just a minute. I called my wife and asked Kathy Sue what she thought of it, because we were struggling. I went from hundreds of dollars an hour to $7.50 an hour, but I loved what I was doing. And she said the words that changed my life. Take it. I haven't seen you this happy in years. I was the activity director, and I got trained by a corporate trainer from Portland. He said, just remember the these Bibles, birthdays, and bingo. Michelle says everybody loves you. Just call me if you have a problem. So I figured, bad news, not much training. Good news, I can do anything I want. So I treated everybody like my Nana. I think Bill will agree. You treat them like your loved one, and they will become a substitute. And you pour yourself into making sure that you do what Nana would have done or what she would have liked. My first activity was Sit and Be Fit. Great program out of Seattle. Or Spokane. I'd never heard of it before. 6 human beings showed up and asked where the activity director was. And I said, well, I'm the new one. They weren't happy campers. So I went through a half an hour of watching people's faces, almost like they don't have anything except just no movement in their brain. They were just kind of ghosts of themselves, but they knew what to do. At the end, I thought to myself, my Nana wouldn't put up with this. So I played a word game with them for a few minutes, and it worked. And they said, can we keep going? And I said, no, we're having fun, but I can do some more of it on Wednesday when we come back. The 6 became 9, became 15. Pretty soon I had 20 people coming at Sit and Be Fit. And I realized they weren't there for Sit and Be Fit. They were there to have fun. They were there to use their brain because they're bored. 10 years later, after developing memorobics and having a clinical trial that took 3 years, I was co-author of a medical journal article, way above my pay grade, but I retired as an activity director after 3.5 years and tried it on my own, translating neuroscience into a second language called plain English, teaching people how to do it themselves. And then in 2011, Jan Chakra twisted my arm one more time. I started teaching, retired a year ago this spring to go into research, and I'm now diving into the new research of non-pharmaceutical brain stimulation that is going to, I think, be the first go-to is do what people love to do and do more of it that's beneficial. So that's my story, and I'm only part way through my journey. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm happy getting there quickly.
Thank you. You presented that really well. I can't do that. Not yet. Maybe in my 70s, I'll be able to go here to there to there. Oh my goodness. I didn't know what caregivers were.
Yeah.
And my neighbor said, oh, come in, I'll hire you Monday. You'll be perfect. I don't even know what you're talking about. And then in the next situation at Mennonite, the gal supervising there, I'm like, oh, I would love to be an activity director or something like that. We're seeing who you are. And it is the go into the home and, develop the trust, want things to, meld to the way that person wants things to happen. So, because maybe they physically can't do it anymore, so they are doing it through you. I'm talking dusting, just 3 inches to the left. Nope, nope. Turn that figurine just a little bit. Yes, and that energy, that mental energy, that it goes into coaching me to, you know, to point to another thing that this person used as a tool. And I'm in the garage with this person who is, just wanting to look at those tools again and talk about it. Lift that one up. See how heavy it is? I had to use it this way, but I was clever. Just those wonderful moments of living, and they knew that I was the right one. And that supervisor said, I don't hire anyone that I would not send to my own grandparents without any, compunction, no doubt, everything, I know that this person will care enough to get them. So that's the caregiving. And it isn't just, oh, you're feeble, be careful, don't fall, or something like that, but actually caring about who they are and getting to know them as a person. My favorite was the power went out in part of the house, so the TV couldn't be on. And it was only warm in this one room. And this room was kind of a little bit of a museum of the past history of the person that I was serving. And the stories that came out. And I'm like, yay, the TV's off. And now I'm really knowing this person and what they are about, what's important to them, their core values, let alone where they've been or maybe something they accomplished, but just what was important to them. Oh my goodness.
I think of an analogy to the hospitality industry. We probably remember the famous, I don't remember exact title, was something like the Dragon Lady or something, Leona Helmsley, the hotel magnate. And it was something about that, I can't teach attitude. Just get me people that care and smile and have good customer service feeling, because just like caregiving, you can train them all you want. But if they're not going to have the compassion and the empathy and treat them like your grandma, can you teach that? That'd be really, really hard. And I don't think people like that will last.
No, I think they have to go through some of that pain to go, if they have any capacity to, if there's a compassion genome thing that's just latent and needs to be unleashed, go through that difficulty in a situation where you really are emotionally gripped, and maybe that's when it all kicks in, like, oh my goodness. So
can I make a comment about something
please.
Roger said? And
I want to add something.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You go, because it's new. Yeah.
Okay. So
you were talking about training. Yeah.
Are we being polite? Is that what we're doing? Yeah. Being polite right now? Okay, Natalia, what did you want to say, Natalia? You go for it.
We have Eastern European backgrounds, so this is hard for us.
Oh, I got hooked to my chair.
So real quick, Roger, you're talking about activities and they're bored and some of the things you didn't need the training. You thought outside the box, so to speak. And I think about, I run a memory cafe. Now, I don't do it like where we have the same activity every month and I'm not going to say what others do. I like to do something different every month, whether it's bringing somebody who does yoga and breathing or art therapy or music or games. What I love to do occasionally is maybe Dementia Map, and they have the memory joggers. And it's a perfect example, because you say start a phrase like, a rolling stone gathers no moss. And they may not remember what they had for breakfast, or the person next to him's name they just met, but they'll remember phrases like that.
Yes.
And they love it. And even somebody with MCI, early stage dementia, can do these games, and they love coming to it, not just the socializing.
We should talk about this next week because that's based upon a book called Surprise, Uncertainty, and Mental Structure. Came out of Harvard about 20 years ago. And the key element is if your loved one who's older, anyone you're working with, Bill, if they can predict what's going to happen in that meeting, they'll be there, but it won't stick. But if you can surprise them with all of a sudden something surprises them, like you show up one day with these on and they laugh, and what are you laughing? What are you laughing at?
There you go, Roger. Yay, that's a winner.
So when you can,
That's a bell ringer.
when you can throw in something that throws them off,
Yeah,
they suddenly, their brain has to adjust. Earlier, we talked about, you raised, Christine, that, gee, how old are you? Gee, you're still doing this and you're really sharp for that age. We came up and teach people in our ageism models and things to do. When someone is engaged in a conversation with Bill or Roger, we're of a certain age, and I'll get that every so often. They would say, "How after the conversation?" They'll say, "How old are you anyway?" The answer can be a 2-digit number, and they'll say the dead end. Gee, you sound real sharp for someone that age. That's a bad compliment if it was, but if you say, I was born in, and give the year, the person who's younger has to realize you're talking living history here. This lived through the Cold War. He lived through this. He lived through that. So it switches from the younger person sort of having the upper hand to you're only this age. The other thing that it does is it gives the person a chance to say, I was born in, and you can fine tune it. What I like to say when I really fine tune it, I was born 1 week before Dewey lost to Truman. You do the math.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was born when Truman was still president. I used to think it was Eisenhower, but it was an election year. I love it. I love it. Natalia wanted to say something. I want to hear what she had to say.
Oh, it was just hello.
Oh yes, you're back. You're back.
You talk about training, and what I did when I will talk about training when I went to Nancy Heckler for adult day services more than a year ago. It was driving me insane. She didn't let me do anything. I was there for at least four first visits, just sitting and watching. And when I say, Nancy, but I came here to help, and she said, Natalia, I know you can mix the salad, but it's really important for training to see and watch how other people do, because they very often want to jump in and start doing things, but to take a quiet moment and invest all of ourselves into watching and getting that experience in without fiddling or doing things, it's very, very important. That's how we get to the core, to the depths of it. Yeah.
Yay. Well, I should ring the bell again because we're at that point. I'm going to say that if you all can come back next week, I know there are others who plan to be on the screen as well. If we can hear more about memorobics, maybe from Roger, and then you have a memory cafe. Is that right, Bill? And Natalia, you've got this
breaks for better brains
that you're launching. Yes, yeah. I need to understand it better. I need to have a word picture. I'm going to say convergence-experience.com is a place to go to see this concept that I have of also collaborations, sounding very McGinty. Roger, what's just one contact piece of information as we finish this hour for you?
We've got a website. It's a Mind Ramp, like a brain ladder, except easier to get up. mindramp.org.
Mindramp.org. Bill, how about you? What do you want people to find first?
Well, I put a few things in the chat, but the easiest, without getting into something that's encrypted, would be Cohen, like my last name, Cohen, caregivingsupport.com. Cohen, caregivingsupport.com. My website has a lot of good information.
Caregivingsupport.com, and your last name is Cohen. Natalia, do you invite people to get in contact with you?
It's only by email, because I don't have, it's a pilot project, so there is nothing solid yet, but I'm absolutely happy to answer email, LinkedIn contacts, whatever.
Wonderful. Can you share your
I'll put
email?
Yeah.
Oh, she's gonna type it in. Yay, that we are just spreading this out over 2 Wednesdays. So 9 a.m. Pacific time. I got to use the same time for everyone. There are other people who are aiming towards the 19th, July 19th, to pop in. And we have Natalia.Kasparovich at PCC. Oops. Oh, it popped away. Where is it?
PCC.edu.
EDU. That makes sense. That makes sense. Goodbye, everyone. See you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you then.
I'm so grateful.